A Time for True show is sponsored by the office of Dr. Bernard Fialkoff, a periodontal, dental implant and laser specialist in New York City, for over 40 years. Dr. Fialkoff was honored by the International College of Dentists and Pierre Fauchard, and received the Presidential Lifetime Humanitarian Honor from the White House. Call us at 718-229-3838.
Welcome to A Time for Truth show. It's a pleasure to be back with you again tonight, and I'm your host, Dr. Bernard Fialkoff. Tonight we have a very special guest for you. Our world is beset by complexity. We have so much technology, artificial intelligence, but where has humanity gone? Where is simplicity, caring, responsibility, integrity? And tonight we have a very special guest who really has done some superhuman achievements in his lifetime that we'll be presenting to you, and who has a common sense approach to living a happy life, a life with integrity, and a life respecting each other, respecting the beliefs of others, respecting the ideas of others, and just really a good human being. And Buddha, if you will, let's put his pictures up on the screen and introduce our viewers to Stan Cottrell, raised in eastern Kentucky. We discovered his love of running, winning his first race, a 100-yard dash barefoot at his county fair in Kentucky, walking away with a blue ribbon at 12 years of age. There you see him with President Bush. Because you're unbelievable. So share your experiences when you're running. I mean, what's going through your mind? What is it like?
I'm going to reveal something. I'm going to either certify myself as Looney Tunes, or you're going to go, whoa, we need to tap into this even more. Running is like dreaming to me. And I've come up with my own little formula, EFED, even flow of energy distribution, even flow of emotional distribution. And I can literally just go, it's a semi-trance, I guess, that today, for instance, 97 degrees, humidity, horrible. I mean, it was just steamy hot, but yet I'm able to divorce the environment, and I just go into some kind of, it's another place in my mind. And the next thing I know, I've covered 25 or 30 miles, and it's just that even flow of energy distribution and emotional. But a number of times, now comes the Looney Tunes, all right? Several times I would be so into the running, and this usually happens after about 70 miles, but I have literally left my body and been on the other side of the road watching myself just run down the road, and I just laughing my fanny off. Look at that character. But it's interesting, but for obvious reasons.
Well, you know what? I want to tell you something. It's not Looney Tunes at all. I think you're, a genius. You're in the future on things we're going to discover. Because, when people talk about a great athlete like Michael Jordan, and they said that Michael Jordan could see the whole court 360 degrees, and that's why he was able to do what he did. But people really didn't pay attention to it. Other great athletes, they play football, and they say that they get in the zone, which what you were describing, getting in the zone. And I think that's why what you're doing, to me, is so important with this happiness you want to bring to people. Because if we look at life the way you're talking about, then we're the driver. And then this thing here that we have is the car. And our mind is like the computer. So what you're saying makes a lot of sense to me, that you as a human being, because what you do physically, I think, personally, I think is impossible. So the fact that you do something that I feel is physically impossible as a doctor, and I want to have you talk about the lactic acid and your lack of it, which is amazing, that you as a human being, which are so special already, makes a lot of sense to me. So I think what you said is something we've got to research more, and I think we're finding out more and more about this. But You told me the other day something that you don't actually have lactic acid, which is what gives the pain. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. Lactic acid is a buildup because the body is not being oxygenated. It's the big fancy term, doctor. When I say alveolar ventilation perfusion ratio, that's just simply how much the body is what amount of oxygen is being extrapolated per tidal volume or per breath. And the average person has it will be from 38 to 42% of one breath of air, which is 105 milliliters of oxygen out of a normal 500 milliliter breath of air. And oxygen makes up 21% of the atmosphere, so you've got 105 milliliters of oxygen available taken into the lungs, but the average individual their physiology does not allow more than, say, 38 to 42 milliliters of that 105 to be utilized. The average individual has 1.87 capillaries per millimeter cube of muscle fiber. In the studies they've done on me, I have 3.87 capillaries per millimeter cube of muscle fiber. That's called collateral circulation. In other words, my superhighway system is not just some little 2-lane country road out in the middle of nowhere. I have a major arterial superhighway going on within me that I can run. There is an exchange of I'm getting rid of carbon dioxide, but I'm replacing it immediately with the oxygen in there. An O2 deficit produces a pyruvic acid, and a pyruvic acid without the input of oxygen and so forth, that converts to lactic acid. In other words, that's lactic acid. You're out of breath and all this kind of things. When I'm in races, I'll hear people, they're not even a factor any longer because they're out of the game when they're breathing hard because they do not have that one-to-one exchange. So it's in any kind of athletic endeavors, it simply is how well does your body utilize oxygen? And just doing things, simple things, going out and walking 7.5 minutes in one direction, 7.5 minutes back in another direction. It has a cumulative effect. That arterial highway begins to change. The body starts building wider highways within a person. That's why get off your rear ends and get out and start moving. It pays dividends out of this world.
It makes total sense. I think exercise is so important. The Surgeon General of the country and the CDC, the NIH, all trying to get us out to exercise, have better relationships. I want to really laud you too because, you've done so much. You know so many people across the globe that you could just hang out. You don't have to be doing this race that you're doing, not a race, but really this marathon that you're doing, amazing, for 40 days where you're trying to bring. Why is it you decided to bring like this happiness to the world? Why do you think the world needs happiness?
I see people, it doesn't matter what culture. I've been into 140 different countries. I've run across 43 countries. I've been back to those places. And there are certain things that the human being that are synonymous to all human beings. I mean, happiness, joy, peace, patience, and love and feeling significant. Woo!
So you know what? Thank you so much, Stan Cottrell. Thank you for being on the show. And what's the name of this book again, so we get it for the viewers?
The way to happiness. There you go.
This way. Put it this way. A little bit this way. A little bit that. Yeah, there we go. Okay. And you know what? We want to thank Ludwig Alpert for making that book. Mr. Alpert, you're a good guy.
We're gonna nominate him for the AD award, the Awesome Dude award.
That sounds good to me. And you know what? This show is to be continued. Unfortunately, we run out of time. And if we don't end the show, there won't be a Dr. Fialkoff for the next show. So everybody watching, have a good night. And let's practice what Stan Cottrell said. Let's be nice to each other. And let's be little kids for a little while. Thank you so much. Thank you, Stan.